Jim in Woodstown, New Jersey. Hey, Jim. You think that people need to be armed to protect themselves from the government? I suppose in Congress, July 4th, 1776, Thomas Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence wrote, speaking of King George III, or actually it was the second. No, it was the third by that time. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Am I setting up the ball for you to on the tee here for you to knock it out?
Sort of. Here's an example, okay? In 1967, I was in the 82nd Airborne Division. The whole 1st Brigade was trained in riot training during the winter. And in the summer of 67, when they had riots, they sent my battalion to Detroit to stop the riots there. We took care of it.
So wait a minute. You were in the Army or you were in the National Guard?
I was in the active Army in 82nd.
Well, that's a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act.
Well, whatever. But when we got there, we solved the whole problem within 24 hours, but we shot a lot of people, okay?
Yikes.
More than I'd like to discuss. But what I'm saying
is... So you shot, as an American soldier, you shot American citizens, civilians on American soil.
Correct.
That's a stain on our history.
Yeah,
I'm not speaking of you.
I'm
speaking of the situation.
What I'm saying is...
I understand you were doing what you were told.
If those people had been armed, they could have resisted much better than what they did, and it took a whole battalion to calm down a city. That in terms of a popular uprising against a repressive government, the American people could stop a repressive government if they were armed. If they're not armed, they're going to have happen to them the same thing that happened to the people in Detroit.
Well, let me ask you a question, Jim. I'm sure you have a passing familiarity, at least, with modern weaponry, modern military weaponry. Yeah. If, let's say, your battalion were to show up in a city in the United States that was experiencing an insurrection, and if the civilians of that city were armed with everything from pistols to assault weapons, what would y'all do?
We'd have a real battle on our hands. And
I don't think so.
I can tell you how I even know about that. I was also part of the 82nd when we went to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic for that uprising.
Right, and you didn't go in, well, maybe you did, but it seems to me like the smart way would not be to go in with a bunch of foot soldiers carrying weapons that are basically matched weapon for weapon against the civilians. The smart way to go in, if you're the military, is with Black Hawk helicopters and, as much as I hate to say it, in smart way is maybe the wrong way to say it, but with weapons of mass destruction, with bombs and Gatling guns that are mounted on helicopters and fighter jets, and isn't that, in your mind, what would have been the next step in Detroit if the citizenry was armed? That you then would have just taken out entire city blocks with rockets? And if so, how could how can you still make a case that the citizenry should be armed to stop an oppressive government? Really, the case you're making is a case that Jefferson made, that the founders and framers made, that the military should always be under civilian control, that the chief executive of the military, the commander-in-chief of the military, should be the elected president of the United States, not somebody who was a professional military person.
And of course, we were there. LBJ was the president.
I know.
That's all we had going in Vietnam. I mean, he also sent us to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I know.
We basically beat them because we outmanned them as far as guns and heavy guns.
No, but the point that I'm making is that your argument that Americans should be armed to the teeth with small arms in order to overcome an oppressive government, should that day ever come, that argument doesn't make any sense, because if you have a genuinely oppressive government, they're going to kick your ass if all you've got is an assault weapon.
But at the same token, if we had the weapons, they could only control the cities. The countryside, they could not control, just like in Afghanistan today.
Well, of course they could. Well, that's what they make napalm for.
But we are not controlling Afghanistan because those people have a history of war, and they don't care who they're fighting, just so everybody leaves them alone.
We don't control Afghanistan because they are fighting for their homes. And that's why I don't think that you will ever see a successful totalitarian takeover of the United States, a genuinely successful totalitarian takeover of this country, because people, and that you would never see that of any country long term. You might see it that would last for a decade. You might see it that would last even for a generation or two. North Korea, case in point. But eventually it will crumble because people will fight for their homes. People will fight for their families. And so rather than arming the populace because we're afraid that in Glenn Beck style someday the government's going to come and get us, I think that what we should be doing is strengthening the institutions of civil society so that we have a stronger say in who our government is and what its policies are.
Oh, I agree there. I agree with you 99.5% of the time. I just wanted to give you an experience.
Okay.
I mean, I personally feel if Dick Cheney had his way and things went wrong, like a big economic crash or something, he'd be a guy that would try to institute something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree. That in fact, Dick Cheney was, in large part, my understanding is behind the effort to do away with posse comitatus laws that go back to the 1860s that said, or 1870s that said that the U.S. military may never turn their guns on U.S. civilians. But still, I don't think that a bunch of people. You, me, my brother, my friends, whatever, a bunch of us armed with anything from a .22, target pistol to a .357, Magnum to frankly, an Uzi with a 50-round clip. We're not going to stop, the Army. We're not going to stop Navy SEALs. We're not going to stop the U.S. Air Force. We're not going to stop the Marine Corps. They're going to come in, and if we try and fight back, they're going to blow us to smithereens. So the way to deal with an oppressive government is not to arm yourself to the teeth. The way to deal with an oppressive government is to speak out very loudly when the government takes all those small incremental steps. And we can see the history of this back in the first half of the 20th century in Europe, when the government takes those small incremental steps towards tyranny, like clamping down on individual groups, clamping down on the rights of free speech, invading our privacy. I mean, there's a bill right now that's being debated in Congress. Pat Leahy just pulled day before yesterday his support for this bill. You can see the video of it over at thomhartmann.com of my talking with Amy Stepanovich last night from one of these privacy groups that says that basically the feds can read your email all day long if they want without a judge, without a warrant, in violation of the Fourth Amendment. We need to be standing there, not standing someplace out on a street corner with a loaded pistol.
Yeah, well, the average person, the average voter, is more worried about taking Johnny to Little League and Mary to soccer than they are their own freedoms.
Well, but taking Johnny to Little League and Mary to soccer is part of our freedoms. But I don't disagree with you that the average American is not all that well informed about politics or about the direction that our country's going. We'll leave it at that, Jim. Thank you very much for the call.